After spending weeks immersing ourselves in Kyushu, it was time to move on. The next part of the adventure lies across the sea west of Japan. Years ago, I planted a seed in Korea. It came in the form of a book, The Elevation Game. It was written by Aaron Smart, an American cyclist who spent more than a decade living in South Korea. During that time, he wrote the country deeply and documented what he believed were the best road cycling climbs Korea had to offer. I've been chasing those climbs ever since, pushing past the country's pop culture image and riding my bike into the heart of Korea. After a 6-hour ferry ride, we arrived in Busan. Busan is South Korea's second largest city and its biggest port. This marked a significant change in scenery after weeks of serenity in the Japanese countryside. Busan moves fast, relentless, modern, alive. But beyond the restless streets, mountains rise. Mountains that seem to stand outside of time. Steep, unforgiving, all the ingredients for the most rewarding climbs. Aaron designed the contents of his book geographically. This was perfect for a hub-and-spoke travel model like mine. There are multiple climbs in the Busan region. Each is a noteworthy climb on its own, and because they are all connected by road, why not do them all in a single ride? Starting in Yangsan, just 30 minutes north of Busan, we begin our first ride in Korea. I parked the car at Hwangsan Park. It was wide, open, and already looking alive on a Sunday morning. The route begins gently. I followed the cycling path that runs along the Gangneung river, a quiet lead-in before the real work begins. There were a lot of cyclists, but not many who were on the same quest as me. I'm on a quest to find the best road cycling climbs in Korea. The first climb of the day started almost immediately after leaving the safety of the cycling path. Hwajae-koge is a 277 meters climb with an average grade of 10.1%. It was a brutal reminder of just how steep these mountain roads in Korea can be. To make things more difficult, Hwajae-koge is just the warm-up to this next climb, Eden Valley. Eden Valley is, well, the toughest climb I've ever experienced so far in these 5 years of cycling. It's 683 meters tall with an average grade of 9.4%. That's deceiving because 429 of it averages at 14.3%. It was brutal. Here's a good rule of thumb. If it looks steep on video, it's probably super steep in real life. You can also smell the burnt metal of the passing cars. It's tough for them too, I guess. It took a while, but I managed to grind my way to the top. Seriously, I would gladly do any of the climbs that I've done again, but this one needs a very compelling reason for me to even consider it. For now, I need a break. After a 500-meter descent from Eden Valley, the road to Meyang Dam was far more forgiving, 126 meters of climbing at 6.9%.
이 순간이 지나면
From Meyang Dam, we undo all the climbing and descend into a small village in the valley. 40 kilometers into today's ride, I was looking for a place to rest up. There were no franchise convenience stores or vending machines like in Kyushu, but I was lucky to have found a local convenience store. A much needed fueling before we continue. There's still a lot of ground to cover. The next climb is to the summit of Doreje. It's a 407 meters climb from where we were with a cool average grade of 6.9%. This was a very enjoyable climb. After a short descent from Doreje, we bring our climbing legs to Kajisan. It's a 395 meters climb from the end of the descent, with a comfortable average grade of 5.2%. To be frank, I was glad that I did Eden Valley at the beginning. It would have been a lot more unpleasant if I had to do it in the second half of this ride. I made it to the top. There was a traditional rest stop serving Korean food after the tunnel. Yes, oh my god indeed. The last climb of the day, Bane Koge, has an average grade of 15.4% over the course of 1 kilometers. It showed up on my Garmin and I was praying for a technical error. Perhaps the tunnel caused the GPS data to become inaccurate. I was wrong. This is the name of this segment on Strava. It translates to Bane Koge, Final Ridiculous Uphill. They weren't wrong. This was a painful finale to today's ride. At least it was over. It's been a long day. I met with my wife in the city and it was dinner time. Go Ban. I was in Yeosu 2 years ago. I rode and looped around the amazing Suncheon Bay. I told you I'll be back, and here I am. Yeosu is a coastal city all the way down in the south of Korea. I had good memories here, and that's why I wanted to try and experience the city a little more. We were also lucky to have stumbled into one of the biggest festivals in Yeosu. This one celebrates Korea's legendary Admiral Yi Sun-shin. He's best known to have defended the southern coast against a larger and better equipped Japanese naval forces during the Imjin War. Today, his presence stood tall in the Yi Sun-shin Square, watching over the coast alongside his brilliant innovative turtle ship. The crowd flooded the otherwise quiet streets of Yeosu for the night. It was truly a memorable experience. cross that bridge over there. And then all the way. Dosan is an island located south of Yeosu. It's one of the many islands in the southern waters of Korea. If you watch Squid Games, this resonates pretty well. Dosan Bridge connects Yeosu to Dosan. Bridges like this are a huge theme of cycling in Yeosu. I passed through 5 of these bridges in the Suncheon Bay loop I did 2 years ago. There are only 2 today, but they were equally as spectacular. There are no epic climbs in today's route, but I really enjoy exploring different places on the bike. I learn a lot just by riding through these places. Places that aren't as glamorous as the big cities. You learn a little bit about its geography, climate, civilization and history just from cycling. After a week in Yeosu, it was time to move on. From Yeosu, we make our way to Wando, where a ferry will take us to one of my favorite places, Jeju Island. After a 2-hour plus ferry ride, we arrived on the island. I've been here many times, and I always try to snake a trip to the island whenever I can. We bought a ticket with our rental vehicle. It was pretty costly, but it's an experience. It was a great feeling being on the island again. We headed to Jeju, one of the must-visit restaurants here in Jeju. They have the dry and broth noodle, they are both nice. Our B&B is in Seogwipo city in the south. I prefer it to the north because it's a lot quieter. This accommodation was lovely. Staying in the south also makes climbing Halasan a lot more enjoyable. It's slightly steeper, but nothing crazy like what we saw in Busan. At 1,947 meters, Halasan is the tallest mountain in South Korea, and the second tallest after Baekdusan in the Korean peninsula. The road only takes us to 1,100 meters, but you can hike up to the summit from the east. The climb starts immediately from where I was staying. From here, it's a 900 meters climb to the pass. I've probably done the Halasan climb around 5 times now. It's also one of the few climbs that I've done more than once. We then descend into the north before turning left to avoid going into the super busy Jeju city. This leads us to the west coastline of the island. I love riding on these roads. They are spacious, well maintained, and the views of the sea have always captivated me. Remember what I said about learning? This was new to me. As I approached the south of the island, a thick fog blanketed the area. I was confused initially because the weather was good and it hadn't rained in days. I later learned about the different types of fog. This one drifts in from the sea, warm air meeting colder water, rolling quietly into the coast. It was just so interesting for me. At this point in the trip, I was fatigued, not because my legs were tired, but mentally, I didn't want to be out there in the cold anymore. The early excitement has gone. I went out at 7 degrees Celsius in Japan. I wouldn't even go out at 15 degrees Celsius right now. The thought of puncturing another inner tube was pretty depressing as well. I've already used up 7 inner tubes in this trip. And lastly, my knee's been swelling non-stop since the beginning of this trip. Admittedly, I brought the injury with me before the trip, thinking the swelling would subside, but it never did. I had been riding with pain all this time. Still, I tried to make the best of this trip. We had good food, we met with friends, I got fat, and in general, we had fun.
Easy peasy.
We left Jeju and headed back to the mainland for our next adventure. I made plans, but these plans had to change because I could barely walk. Our destination was Yeosu in the Gangneung province. We stopped by Gwangju to restop on inner tubes. Yes, it was that bad. We also wanted to stop for lunch, but there was a factory fire in the city. It was one of the worst in the city's history, and we didn't feel safe enough to stop there. I don't think it's safe here. After sorting out supplies and food, we then drove all day to the Gangneung province. The Gangneung province is South Korea's most mountainous region, all the way to what we have seen in Busan, shaping the terrain, the weather, and the roads. The initial plan was to take on Busan Observatory, but that didn't happen because I could barely walk. I decided to skip it to allow the swelling to subside. We went exploring nearby attractions instead. We stopped by the town of Yeosu and visited the tomb of King Tanjong. There, we learned about the tragic story of the young king. He became king at the age of 12, forced to abdicate when his uncle seized power in the coup. He was then exiled and later executed. His body was dumped by the river and was later recovered by a local official and secretly buried. Much later, he was posthumously restored as king. His remains were formally reinterred and honoured at the Gangneung Royal Tomb here in Yeosu. We arrived at Gangneung later that day. This was the final stop in the cycling itinerary. Due to its mountainous profile, the best climbs in South Korea can be found here. We checked into a really nice Airbnb in the rural area of Gangneung. It was big, clean, quiet, and surprisingly modern. We also found ourselves surrounded by mountains and farms. There's even a specialty coffee factory just 5 minutes drive away. It was a comfortable escape for us city folks. Daegwallyeong is the closest climb to where we were. It's a 700 meters climb from where I was staying, with a friendly average grade of 6%. The weather that morning was perfect, 18 degrees Celsius at 6 am. It was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. Unfortunately, my knee still hadn't healed up. It was difficult, and my time here in Gangneung is short. I had no choice but to be patient. I rested, did some really light rides both inside and outside. I also made a new friend. This cat was here every day. It lightened up my mood a little because I wasn't sure if I was going to make any rides at all. It has been really frustrating. Weekends finally arrived, and the swelling on my knee had finally receded. This was my last weekend here in Gangneung, and I decided to head south to Taebaek city for an epic adventure. Today's route cuts deep into rural Korea through the Taebaek mountain range and small quiet towns. I wasn't sure if I was able to finish the ride, but I had to try. I rested at Sabuk town just before the first decisive climb of the day. This was a bit of self-preservation. If I wanted to finish today's ride, I have to manage properly. After stopping briefly to rest, we head towards Route Koge, the decisive climb of the day. It's a 537 meters climb with an average grade of 7.1%. I could head back to the starting point anytime I want before the summit. Beyond that, there isn't much difference between completing the route and doing a U-turn. Thankfully, I felt good enough to continue. The mountain roads takes us westward to the edge of Yeongwo. There, I found a small convenience store where I rested and stocked up before heading up to the highlight of the day, Manhangje. At 1,300 meters, Manhangje is the highest point the Taebaek will take you in South Korea. The road to the top wasn't difficult at all. Gradient was a gentle 3% throughout the climb, and the earlier segment felt like a false flat. The quiet rural roads got even quieter at this concrete stretch. It reminded me of the rindos in Japan. It was at this stretch of road that I saw these very interesting rock formations. Seeing these windmills means the summit is near. I wasn't sure if I was gonna finish today's ride, but I did it. In fact, I thoroughly enjoyed it. The quiet roads, beautiful valleys, and the majestic mountainous landscape of the Taebaek region were an eye-opener, and I would love to return and explore it again in the future. Back in Gangneung, it was now or never. I set off in the amazing spring morning, hoping to finally complete Daegwallyeong and close this chapter of my spring adventure. The thing about today's route that really left an impression on me was just how wide and well maintained these roads to Daegwallyeong are. After all, these roads once hosted the Daegwallyeong annual hill climb. Unfortunately, I don't think it's active anymore. We arrived at the top after 700 meters of climbing. This viewpoint overlooks the city of Gangneung and its surrounding mountains. We've come a long way. We could have called it a day and descended using the same route. However, it wouldn't be as fun if we didn't make it a little more epic, especially on the last ride of this trip. We headed west towards Taebaeksan next, with Koge the destination. Koge looks like a notorious climb from the north. It's a steep climb with more than 900 meters of climbing. However, from the south, the hard part was already done. From Daegwallyeong, we make a slight descent before making the 400 meters climb to Koge. The climb is comfortable, with an average gradient of 3%. It was quiet, the roads were well maintained, and I was really enjoying cycling deep in the Korean mountains. Arriving at Jinkoge concluded my spring cycling trip in Japan and Korea. It's been an incredible experience living and cycling in these two countries. I've learned and seen so much, and I want to keep going. It's incredible how much more immersive traveling becomes with a bike. There's a lot more exploring to do, and I can't wait to share my next adventure with you. Till then, ride safe, and I'll see you soon.
Okay.